B'siyata d'shmai, we're going to learn Yoma Daf Mem. We're going to start 10 lines from the bottom of Daf Lamed Tes Amud Beis. Says the Gemara, Omar Rabbi Yanai, Alias goyrol mitoich kalpi ma'akeves. Hanocha eino ma'akeves. We know, and this is psukim in the Chumash, that there's a mitzvah to do the goyrol, the lots, on the two he-goats. One was going to be designated for the korban chatos l'Hashem, and the other one was going to be sent away to the Azazel. How did they determine which of the seirim of the goats were lachatos, l'Hashem, which ones were la'azazel? They would do a goyrol. The goyrol was really two stages. First stage, the Kohen Gadol, according to the opinion of our Mishnah, we've learnt about that, the Kohen Gadol would put his two hands into the box, take out the two goyrolos, the one in his right hand, one in his left hand, and then almost by default, the right hand so'ir of the goat that was standing on his right would be whatever it said on the lot that he took out with his right hand, and the goat on the left would be whatever it said on the lot in his left hand. But then besides for just taking out the lots, the Pasuk says that you should put the lots on top of the animals, onto the animals, and that was the mitzvah of the goyrol. The question is, how much of this, number one, the taking out, the casting the lots, number two, putting the lots onto the animals, how much of this was ma'akev, which means if you didn't do it, then the korbanos would not become the chatos, or the one that was mishtaleach, going to be sent away. How much of this procedure was ma'akev and how much not? So Rabbi Yanai says, that means everybody agrees that placing the lots onto the animals are not ma'akev. The question is drawing the lots ma'akev? And that's a machlekes Rabbi Yanai and Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yanai says, Aliyas goyrol mitoich kalpi, drawing the lots from the basket, from the box, ma'akeves is essential. Hanocha eino ma'akeves, however, placing them onto the animals is not essential. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, Af aliyah eino ma'akeves, Rabbi Yochanan says that even drawing the lots is not ma'akev. So that's one machlekes. Now there's another machlekes, a machlekes tanoim, between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nechemia, regarding any of the avodos that were done in the big day lovon, in the white and the four clothes, that were not done in the Kodesh Kodashim. Is it ma'akev? Is the order ma'akev? And is every detail essential or not? So alibad Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says that it's not ma'akev. Anything that was not done, if it was done in the Kodesh Kodashim, it says chukah, it's ma'akev. However, if it's not in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, if it's avodah which is done either in the Heichal or in the Azara, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's not ma'akev. So, alibad Rabbi Yehuda de Omar dvorim anasim b'big day lovon mi bachutz. Rabbi Yehuda says anything that's done with the white clothes outside the Kodesh Kodashim, loy ma'akev, is not essential. And the drawing of the lots was done with the white clothes outside the Azara. It was done at the entrance, outside the Kodesh Kodashim. It was done at the entrance of the Azara, as we've already learnt. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, that says that anything done outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim in the white clothes is not ma'akev. Even Rabbi Yanai would agree that according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's not ma'akev. Ki pligi, when is Rabbi Yanai and Rabbi Yochanan arguing? Alibud Rabbi Nechemia. According to Rabbi Nechemia, who argues with Rabbi Yehuda and says that even the avodas that are done outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the chukah applies to them and they are ma'akev. The question is the goyrol included in that, or is the goyrol an exception because it's not considered an avodah at all? So according to Rabbi Yanai, who says that drawing the lots is ma'akev, he obviously holds it's an avodah. If it's an avodah, then according to Rabbi Nechemia, it will be ma'akev. According to Rabbi Yochanan, who says it's not ma'akev, he says that Rabbi Nechemia will agree that it's not ma'akev, because it's not an avodah. Let's see that inside. Man de Omar ma'akev, according to Rabbi Yanai, who says that the goyrolos, that the drawing of the lots is ma'akev. Rabbi Nechemia, he holds like Rabbi Nechemia, who says that anything that's done even outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim is ma'akev. So the goyrol is included. However, Rabbi Yochanan, who says not ma'akev, hanamili avodah. When does Rabbi Nechemia say that avodah is ma'akev, or when anything that's done in the white clothes, even outside the Kodesh Kodashim, is ma'akev? It's only if it's considered an avodah. Hagrola, however, drawing the lots, lav avodah, he is not considered an avodah, and therefore even Rabbi Nechemia will agree that it's not ma'akev. That is the first version of this Gemara. Ikad Omra. There's another version of this Gemara. That Libud Reb Nechemya, according to Reb Nechemya, who says that even outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, Chukah applies to them and it's Ma'akev, then everybody agrees. Even Rabbi Yochanan agrees that drawing the lots is Ma'akev. Alibud Reb Nechemya da Amar Ma'akva, that says that the order and the details of the avodas done even outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim is Ma'akev. Kule Almalei Pligi di Ma'akva. Even Rabbi Yochanan agrees to Rabbi Yanai that drawing the lots is Ma'akev. Ki Pligi, when is the Machleikas Rabbi Yanai and Rabbi Yochanan regarding the lots? It's only Alibud Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda normally says that Chukah does not apply to anything done outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And therefore, according to Rabbi Yochanan, we can understand Rabbi Yehuda. He says that drawing of the lots is not essential, because Rabbi Yehuda says that anything that's done outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim is not essential. However, according to Rabbi Yanai will say that Rabbi Yehuda will agree, even though Chukah doesn't apply outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, Rabbi Yehuda will agree that it's Ma'akev, because we have a different pasuk. Shani Hacha, the Tanu Beikra, here we have a pasuk, and the pasuk says, "V'hikriv Aaron es hasoyer asher ola olov hagoyrol Hashem v'osau chatos." Since it says asher ola in that pasuk, and then it says again in the next pasuk, "V'hasoyer asher ola olov hagoyrol," it says twice asher ola olov hagoyrol, once in pasuk tes, once in pasuk yud, and we know there's a rule asher ola trezimna, and the rule is anything that's repeated twice is essential, is ma'akev. That's why it's repeated twice, to tell us it's not only a mitzvah, it's essential. And since it says twice Asher Allah, we learn from there that even if it's, or according to Rabbi Yanai assumes that even Rabbi Yehuda, who says that Chukah wouldn't apply to the drawing of the lots because it's done outside the Kodesh Kadoshim, since it says twice in the pasuk Asher Allah, that it will be ma'akev, even according to Rabbi Yehuda. Those are the two versions of the explanation of where Rabbi Yanai and Rabbi Yochanan are arguing. Are they arguing according to Rabbi Nechemya, or are they arguing according to Rabbi Yehuda? And now we're going to ask a number of questions, proofs, one way or another, from different brises. Meisvei. We're going to now ask a question from a brisa against Rabbi Yanai, and it's actually all the questions that we're going to have are going to be against Rabbi Yanai of the second version. Because according to the first version, everybody agrees that according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's not ma'akev. Drawing of the lots is not ma'akev. According to Rabbi Nechemya, who normally says that Chukah does apply even outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, there's a machleikas whether drawing the lots is ma'akev or not. According to Rabbi Yanai, it's ma'akev, in conforming with Rabbi Yirmiyah's opinion, with Rabbi Nechemya's opinion, and according to Rabbi Yochanan, he says that even Rabbi Nechemya will agree that the Geirol is different because it's not considered an avodah. That's the first version. In the second version, however, it's very different. In the second version, everybody agrees that according to Rabbi Nechemya, the Geirol, the lots, are not ma'akev. No, they are ma'akev, because he says that Chukah applies to anything even outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The question is Rabbi Yehuda, who says that those things that are outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, Chukah does not apply. The question is, do we say that the Geirolis is different because we have a side posuk, another source, Asher Allah, then, and Rabbi Yanai says that that's the case, and therefore even according to Rabbi Yehuda, it will be ma'akev. Which means that according to Rabbi Yanai, there's no Tana that's going to say that the Geirol is not ma'akev. According to Rabbi Nechemya, everyone says it's ma'akev, and according to Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yanai says, Rabbi Yehuda agrees that the drawing the lots is ma'akev because of that second pasuk. So if we find any source anywhere that drawing the lots is not essential, according to the second version of the Gemara, according to Rabbi Yanai, we're going to have a real issue with that. According to the first version, Rabbi Yanai could easily say that those sources are following Rabbi Yehuda, who says lo ma'akva. However, according to the second version, where Rabbi Yanai is actually talking in Rabbi Yehuda, who says that normally lo ma'akva, nonetheless drawing the lots is ma'akev, we're going to have a problem. So that's what the Gemara is asking. Mitzvah lehagril. There's a mitzvah, as we saw, it says in the Chumash you should draw the lots, vim lo higril, but if you did not draw the lots, kosher, nonetheless, it's kosher. Drawing the lots is not essential. So Bishleim Belahachlishna, according to the first version, that the Machleikas Rabbi Yanai and Rabbi Yochanan regarding the lots is only according to the opinion of Rabbi Nechemia. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, everyone agrees the lots are not essential. We don't have a problem. How many? This price will be Rabbi Yehuda. He will follow Rabbi Yehuda. According to the second version, the Omrus Pligi, that say that the Machlekes Rabbi Yana and Rabbi Yochanan is according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, and according to Rabbi Nechemia, everybody agrees that it is essential. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's a Machlekes. According to Rabbi Yana, it's essential, and according to Rabbi Yochanan, it's not essential. If so, according to Rabbi Yana, who's going to be the author of the brisa that says that it's not essential? According to Rabbi Yochanan, who says that Rabbi Yehuda will agree will conform with his own opinion that even by the Geirel it's not ma'akav because chukah doesn't apply to anything outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Hamani Rabbi Yehuda, it can be Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rabbi Yanai, who says that Rabbi Yehuda agrees regarding the lots from a separate pasuk, Asher Olo, that it is essential. Hamani, who's the author of this brisa? That's the question of the Gemara. Answers the Gemara, Toni, you should rephrase that brisa, and you should understand the brisa is not talking about mitzvah lahagril, rather mitzvah lahaniach. It's not talking about drawing the lots. It could be drawing the lots is essential. When the brisa says that it's kosher even without, it's talking about placing the lots on the animal. And we said placing the lots on the animal, everyone agrees it's not ma'akav. So that's how we got round the first question. Now the Gemara is asking another question. Tashema. And it's going to be a similar question. Mitzvah lahagril, the Tanakhama say there's a mitzvah to draw the lots, ulehisvadois, and to say the vidui, the confession, on the so'ir hamishtalech, on the goat that's going to be sent to the Azazel. Loi higril, v'loi hisvade. If for whatever good or bad reason the Kohen Gadol did not draw the lots, nor did he do the confession, nonetheless it's kosher. So you see here clearly there's an opinion that's speaking about drawing the lots, and if you didn't do it, it's not essential. So we have the same question. According to Rabbi Yana, according to the second version in the Gemara, we're going to have a problem. Who's the author of this brisa? V'chiteima, are you going to say hochanami lehaniach? That over here also the whole discussion is talking about placing the goyrel onto the animal. It's not talking about drawing the lots. But regarding drawing the lots, indeed it could be that it is ma'akav, a maseifa. Let's see how that's going to work with the continuation of that brisa. What does it say in the brisa? There's a Tana who argues with Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon oimer, loi higril kosher. Reb Shimon says that I agree with you, Tanakama, that if you do not draw the lots, it's kosher, it's not ma'akav. Loi hisvade, however, if you didn't do the confession on the soir la'azazel, posel, then it's posel. Doing the vidui is essential. And here we have to understand, according to Reb Shimon, my loi higril, what does the word loi higril mean? Ilei loi hiniach, because we're assuming at this point that the loi higril of Reb Shimon is the same as the loi higril of the Tanakama. And we said that Tanakama say loi higril means loi hiniach, which means that what's not essential, placing the lot on the animal, drawing the lots is essential. So are you going to say the same according to Reb Shimon? My loi higril, ilei loi hiniach, are you going to assume it means that he's agreeing with the Chachomim that if you don't place the lots on the animal, it's nonetheless kosher? Michlal. So what would we deduce from there? Reb Shimon Sova Hagrola Ma'akiv. So we would deduce from there that placing the lots on the animals are not ma'akav. However, drawing the lots is ma'akav. And that's what we had to say because we're trying to explain Rabbi Yanai. That means according to Rabbi Yanai, we would almost be forced to say that the Tanakama and Reb Shimon, they say that drawing the lots is ma'akav, which is Rabbi Yanai's opinion. But here we're going to have a problem because there's an explicit brisa that says that Reb Shimon says that drawing the lots is not ma'akav. Even drawing the lots, not only placing the lots, but drawing the lots is also not ma'akav. Well, Tanya, we learned in a brisa, meis echod mehen, if one of the goats died, mevi chaveiro yishaloi ba'agrola. If one of them died, you bring another goat to be its partner, so to speak, and that second goat by default becomes the other korban. For example, if the korban of chatos l'Hashem, if the soyer of chatos dies, you just bring another one and you say it's the chatos. If the soyer la'azazel dies, you just bring another one and say that this is the soyer la'azazel. Shalei ba'agrola, you do not need to do another lot. So you don't need to draw the lots again. Divrei Reb Shimon. So you see, according to Reb Shimon, drawing the lots are not essential. So if drawing the lots are not essential, when Reb Shimon says lo yehi grill kosher, it must be talking about not that not placing the lots is not ma'akev, which would be true, but we would deduce from there that just the placement of the lots is not ma'akev, but drawing them is ma'akev, and that's not true according to Reb Shimon. So we have to say, according to Reb Shimon, lo yehi grill means if you do not draw the lots, it's kosher. So then you have to assume the Tanna Kama is also talking about drawing the lots, in which case you would have an explicit brisa that says that even drawing of the lots, the Tanna Kama, and in this point agrees with Reb Shimon, that it's not ma'akev. If so, we have an issue. If the Tanna Kama say that drawing the lots is not ma'akev, according to Rabbi Yanai, who's the author of that brisa? It's not Rabbi Yehuda and not Rabbi Nechemia, because according to the second version in the Gemara before, Rabbi Yanai says not only does Rabbi Nechemia say it's ma'akev, even Rabbi Yehuda says it's ma'akev. Answers the Gemara, no. Really, the Tanna Kama is talking about lo higril means lo hiniach. He didn't place it. That means the Tanna Kama holds, as Rabbi Yanai says, Rabbi Nechemia and Rabbi Yehuda holds that way, that drawing the lots is ma'akev. Placing the lots is not ma'akev. So the Tanna Kama who say that lo higril kosher means if you don't place the lots on the animal, it's not essential, it's not ma'akev, it's still kosher. Reb Shimon, however, Reb Shimon lo yoda maika omer rabbanon. Reb Shimon wasn't clear, wasn't sure when the Chachomim said lo higril is kosher, what did they mean? So Reb Shimon responded to the Tanna Kama with his doubt. I hagrola, if you mean to say that lo higril kosher, that when you didn't do the goyrol, it means that you didn't hagrola mamish, you didn't draw the lots, and you Tanna Kama say it's kosher. If that's what you said, pligi alaychu b'choda. If you meant that even drawing the lots is not ma'akev, then I agree with you in that. And I'm only arguing with you regarding if you don't do the confession. That you Tanna Kama say that even if you didn't confess on the soil hamishtalech, it's still kosher. I, Reb Shimon, argue. However, if you Chachomim say, as we determined according to Rabbi Yanai, we're forced to say that according to the Chachomim, that lo higril kosher means lo hiniach, means just placing the lots on the animal is not ma'akev, but drawing the lots is ma'akev. If that's what you Chachomim meant, then paligna laichu b'tarti, then I, Reb Shimon, argue with you on both fronts. Number one, lo higril, meaning if you didn't draw the lots, even if you didn't draw the lots, I, Reb Shimon, say it's kosher. And regarding the vidui, I also argue with you that you Tanna Kama say that if you don't do the confession on the soira mishtaleach, it's kosher, and I say it's possible. So we found a way of reading the brisa that it could well be that the lo higril of the Tanna Kama is talking about lo hiniach, and then we have an answer for Rav Yanai. However, the lo higril of Reb Shimon is talking about not drawing the lots, and that's Reb Shimon's opinion, that not drawing the lots is not ma'akev, it's not essential, and it's kosher. So now we have to really remember this, that we have now a third Tana. We had Reb Nechemia, who speaks about any avodah done outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, is it ma'akev or not? And then we said, according to the first version, there's a machlokes Rabbi Yanai and Rabbi Yechanan, whether this would apply to the lots as well. We had Rabbi Yehuda, who says anything outside the Kodesh Kadoshim is not ma'akev. And then according to the second version, we had the machlokes Rabbi Yanai and Rabbi Yechanan, if this applies to drawing the lots as well. Now we have a Reb Shimon that says explicitly that drawing the lots is not ma'akev. Now really over here, now that we've seen the machlokes between Tanna Kama and Reb Shimon, whether saying the confession on the soir hamishtalech is ma'akev or not, that's actually the Gemara now in the last line of the Omud, and Rashi says this is where we're standing now in the Gemara, is where we should be learning this. So let's jump now to the last line of the Omud, and then we'll come back to where we are now. We'll remember where we are now with the next to the Ois Aleph of the Bach. We're going to jump to the last line, following Rashi's instructions, and we'll be back here soon. Says the Gemara, V'ozdu l'tamayu. We're going to find another brisa, another machlokes that Tanna Kama and Reb Shimon that seem to be arguing on the same opinions regarding whether saying the confession on the soira mishtaleach is ma'akev or not. The Tanya we learned in the brisa, it says in the pasuk, V'hasoira she'olo olov hagoyrol la'azozil, the goat that the lots determined that it would be the one that would be sent to the Azazel, Yo'omad, it should stand. Not just it should stand, Chai, it has to stay alive, Lifnei Hashem, before Hashem, Lechaper Olov, to atone on it, L'shalach Oisoi L'Azazel Amidbara, and ultimately it will be sent to the desert, to the Azazel. That's what it says in the Pasuk. Yo'omad Chai Lifnei Hashem, Lechaper Aleichem. And this word Chai seems to be superfluous. You could have said Yo'omad Lifnei Hashem, should stand before Hashem, and wait there. What's the Chai? It seems to be that it's coming to teach us that that the animal has to stay alive up until a certain point, and if it dies before that point, then you have to replace it with another animal. However, if it dies after a certain point, which is after the point of Lechaper, then it does not need to be replaced anymore. The question is, what is this point called Lechaper, which atonement are we talking about, that if the Soyer HaMishtalech, the Soyer Lazazel, survives up until that point, if it dies after that, it does not need to be replaced. Ad Mosa Yeh Zokuk Lamuid Chai, until what point does this animal have to be alive, and if it doesn't, then it's going to have to be replaced? So Rabbi Yehuda says, Ad Shas Matan Domoi Shel Chaveri, until you've put all the blood of the other soyer, the soyer which is the chatos laHashem, until you've done everything that has to be done with the blood. And we're going to see later that the blood of this goat goes through quite a journey. It gets sprinkled between the kapoires and the kodesh hakadoshim, between the poles of the orin, and then it gets put in the heichal. It gets sprinkled towards the curtain, and then it gets mixed up with the other bloods of the bull and gets put onto the Mizbeach HaPnimi. There's a lot that gets done. Only after that is the vidui of the Soyer HaMishtalech. So the Rabbi Yehuda says, Lechaper Olav means that the animal that's going to go L'Azazel has to remain alive all the while that you haven't yet finished doing the atonement with the blood of the Soyer, which was the Chatos. That's the Matan Domei Shel Chaveri. But as soon as you're finished with the blood of the soyer, which is the Chatos LaHashem, even if you have not yet done the vidui, the confession on the soyer HaMishtalech, if it dies, you do not need to replace it. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, that's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. So we see from here, Rabbi Yehuda holds that the confession is not ma'akev, it's not essential. Reb Shimon Oimer, however, Reb Shimon argues and says no. What does it mean? Yo'omad Chai Lifnei Hashem Lechaper Olov. The word Olov means that the Soyer L'Azazel has to stay alive all the while that you haven't done the atonement on it. What part of the atonement? What do you do on the Soyer HaMishtalech, the Soyer L'Azazel, for atonement? It's the vidui. Ad Shas Vidui Dvorim, until you do the confession on the Soyer HaMishtalech. So the Gemara speaks out, but Ma'akom Mifligi, what they're arguing in. So before we see the sources, you see here clearly, according to Reb Shimon, doing the confession on the Soyer HaMishtalech is ma'akev. And therefore, if the animal dies before you've done the confession, you have to replace it. So you see clearly a machlokas Reb Yehuda and Reb Shimon, which is similar to the machlokas we saw before in Amud Aleph, that according to the Tanna Kama, the vidui, the confession, is not ma'akev. According to Reb Shimon, it is ma'akev. Now the Gemara is asking, what they're arguing with, what words in the Torah, what's making them argue? Kedetanya, we learned in a brisa, and we explained it as we read it, that lechaper, they're arguing what the word lechaper means. Lechaper, that the Yo'omad Chai Lifnei Hashem, the Soyer HaMishtalech, has to stay alive until there's been an atonement. So lechaper is bekaparas domim akos of medaber. Whenever it says lechaper, it means atonement due to the avodah of the blood, talking about the blood of the soyer, which is the chatos that would be done, as we explained before. V'cheinu oimer, and the proof to that would be that it says some psukim later, v'chilo mikaper es hakodesh, when you've finished doing the atonement of the kodesh, ves oil moed, ves hamizbeach, v'hikri ves hasoyer achai, and only then you continue with the soyer which is still alive. So you see clearly that there's we're talking here about v'chilo mikaper es hakodesh, talking about the kapora of the soir, which was the chatos l'Hashem. Ma'alahalon, in the same way as when it says v'chilo mikaper es hakodesh is bekaporas domim, it's talking about when you finish sprinkling the blood and putting the blood of the soir which is the chatos, with the blood of the chatos. Afkan, so too, when it says Yo'amat Chai Lifnei Hashem Lechaper, is bekaporas domim, is referring to the atonement of the blood of the soir, which was the chatos. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, that's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon Omer Lechaper Olov, it says in this pasuk that it will atone on it, on the soir mishtalech, bekaporas dvorim akosov medaber. What do you do on the soir hamishtalech? You do the vidui. So Rabbi Shimon says the vidui is ma'akav, it's essential, and if you don't, and if it dies before you've done the vidui, you have to replace it and do the vidui. And now we've finished discussing this side detail about whether the kapora, whether the vidui, the confession is ma'akav. Now we can go back to our sugya with Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yanai, whether drawing the lots is ma'akav or not ma'akav. So far we've had two questions. We had one starting at the bottom of Lamed Tes Amud Beis, another one at the top of Daf Mem Amud Aleph, and now we're going to the third raya. We're back to the middle of Daf Mem Amud Aleph, by the Aleph of the Hagahas Habach. Tor Shema, and we have now a cryptic, seemingly cryptic brisa that says Par Ma'akev Es HaSoyer. At some point we're going to soon explain this, but the order, when the avodah of the par of the bull has to be before the soyer, that's essential. If you do it the wrong way around, and you first do the avodah of the soyer, and then you do the avodah of the par, it's as if you haven't done the avodah of the soyer. You first do the par, and then the soyer. However, the soyer ein ma'akev es hapar. However, in the case where you should have done, the order should have been that first you're doing an avodah with the soyer, with the blood of the chatos, the soyer lechatos, should have been done before the par, and you didn't, you did the par first, it's okay, you can then do the soyer, it's not essential. But matonis shebifnim, it's talking about that the matana means the gift, but it means the placement of the blood inside. We'll see what that means, but this means that in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the blood had to be put. We'll see the blood had to be placed in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and there the order is ma'akav, and you have to first place the blood of the par, and then place the blood of the soir. And before we see the Gemara, let's try and have a short overview of the order of this section of the Avodas Yom Kippurim. First, the Kohen did his first vidui on his par, as we learnt in a previous Mishnah. After he said his first confession on his bull, he would then go and do the goyrel. He would go to the Mizrach, to the entrance of the Azora, where the two goats would be standing. He would draw the lots. Then he would go back to his par, which is standing ben ulam lamizbeach, and he would do the second vidui there, the second confession. Then they would shecht the bull, the par. Then he would go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim with the shovel of the coals and the ktoires, the kaf umachta, the spoon of the ktoires with the machta, with the shovel of the coals into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Then he would take the blood of the par, and he would sprinkle it towards the orin, ala kapoires, between the badim, between the poles of the orin. Then he would come out and shecht the goat, which was lechatos. Then he would take the blood of the goat and go into the Kodesh Kadoshim again and sprinkle it between the poles of the orin. Then he would come out of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, he would sprinkle some of the blood of the bull, of the par, towards the curtain separating the Heichal from the Kodesh Kadoshim. Then he would do the same with the blood of the goat. He would sprinkle it towards the curtain between the Heichal and the Kodesh Kadoshim. Then he would mix the remaining blood of the bull and the soyer together, and he would pour it and put it onto the Mizbeach Hapnimi. After that, he would go and do the vidui, the confession, on the soyer hamishtalech. So that's the basic order. So in each set, the par was done first. first the blood of the parah was put between the poles of the orin, and then the blood of the soyer was done too. And then the blood of the parah was put on towards the curtain, and then the soyer. And then the bloods were mixed and put onto the Mizbeach HaPnimi. So here we have a number of stages where there was first the parah, then the soyer, and then after the soyer, next thing of the parah, and then the soyer, the parah, the soyer, backwards and forwards. And we have here in this brisa that where the parah has to be before the soyer, it's essential. Where the soyer has to be before the parah, it's not essential. And we have to try and understand where this is referring to, and soon we'll understand what this is doing in this Gemara. Bishloima par ma'akeves hasoyer, the akdemele soyer, mikami par lo avad v'lo klum. So the part of the brisa that says that if the avoid of the par is not done before the soyer, then what you've done with the soyer is not kosher, and you have to do it again. That means the par must be first. When would that be referring to? That's very straightforward. As we said, if you sprinkle the blood of what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to sprinkle the blood of the par, of the bull, in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, between the poles of the orin. You're supposed to do that before doing it with the blood of the goat. If you did it the other way around, you first sprinkled the blood of the goat and then the par, you're not yoitza. You have to do the par and then resprinkle with the blood of the goat. So that we can understand. If you sprinkled the blood of the goat before that of the bull, that we disregard it. You first have to do the bull, and then you can go and do the blood of the soyer. Elob, however, the second part of this brisa, soyer ein ma'akev esapar, that where the soyer has to be done before the par, that it's not ma'akev, it's not essential. What would that be referring to? Ilema, is it we're talking about the iaktim matonis the par beheichal? Because we said that after putting the blood of the soyer in between the poles of the orin in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, what was next? They would take the blood of the par and sprinkle it outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim in the heichal towards the curtain separating the heichal from Kodesh HaKadoshim. So that was done to the blood of the par after the blood of the soyer was sprinkled in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So are you going to say that the second part of the brisa is talking about what if you did it the other way around? If you first put the dam of the par, if you sprinkled it towards the curtain before sprinkling the blood of the soyer in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, are you going to say that in that case it's not ma'akev? Chukah ksiv b'hu. Does it not say chukah? Everybody agrees that regarding what's done in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the details and the order is absolutely essential. And since sprinkling the blood of the soyer in the Kodesh HaKadoshim is in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, it must be done before sprinkling the blood of the par in the heichal. And if you sprinkle the blood of the par in the heichal first, of course it should be ma'akev. That's part of the chukah, which tells us that anything done in the Kodesh HaKadoshim has to be done in the right order. Elolav, it must be, we're talking about something, lav de'aktim matonis, de par bifnim mikame hagrola. We're talking about what happens if, because what were you supposed to do? You were first supposed to do the hagrola, the lots, on the goats, outside in the Azora, and then you're supposed to sprinkle the blood of the par in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. What happens if you did it the other way around? If you first sprinkled the blood of the par in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and only after that you did the goyrel. Elulav the aktim matonis lepar bifnim mikame hagrola. And then, if that's what the brisa is talking about, then it must be, the brisa says it's not ma'akev. It doesn't matter if you do the goyrel after sprinkling the par in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And the Gemara assumes at this point, sidra loy ma'akva, and if we assume, and if we're saying now that the order of the goyrel being, that means the mitzvah of doing it before the par is not ma'akev, we assume that's either consequent to that or similar to that. the actual drawing of the lots is also not essential. So if so, we have an explicit brisa that's telling us that so'ir ein ma'akiv esapar, that even if you do the goyrel out of order, and hence even if you don't do the goyrel, it's not essential, it's not ma'akiv, it's still kosher. And the question will come back now, that according to Rabbi Yanai, who says that everybody agrees, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nechemia, that the goyrel is ma'akiv, who's going to be the author of this brisa? And now we're going to skip. The Vilna Gaon says we should skip these 4 lines because there's a number of issues with it. Elo, says the Gemara, ha mani Reb Shimon hi. You remember we learned previously in the Gemara that Reb Shimon says that drawing the lots is not ma'akiv. So this brisa is going to be Reb Shimon. So indeed, Rabbi Yana and Rabbi Yochanan agree that according to Rabbi Nechemia, it's ma'akiv. And according to Rabbi Yanai, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's also ma'akiv. So who's going to be this brisa? Rabbi Yanai will tell you that this brisa is Reb Shimon. And Reb Shimon says that drawing the lots is not ma'akiv. Reb Shimon hidam agrolo loy ma'akva. V'iboi seima, another possible explanation, lo'ilam Reb Yehuda hi. It could be Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yehuda who says that, and as we saw before, Rabbi Yanai said in the name of Rabbi Yehuda that drawing the lots is ma'akiv. And nonetheless, this brisa could hold that drawing of the lots is ma'akiv. It could well be that the brisa is only telling us that the order is not essential. And when it says that the so'ir ein ma'akiv esapar, as we explained, if you draw the lots after putting the blood of the par in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, it's not essential, it's still kosher. However, that doesn't mean that drawing of the lots is not essential. Of course, drawing of the lots is essential. The timing is not essential. And therefore, this brisa is not a contradiction to Rabbi Yehuda regarding drawing of the lots. And now the next Gemara we already learned before, and we're going to go now to the next Tarshema. 9 lines from the top of Daf Mem Amud Beis. Tarshema, we're going to bring another brisa, another proof. Shoalu Talmidov es Rabbi Akiva. The disciples, the Talmidim asked Rabbi Akiva, Olo bismoil, we know that it was a good sign if the right hand of the Kohen drew the lot that said on it Chatos Lashem. What happens if the left hand of the Kohen Gadol drew the lot that said Chatos Lashem? Ma'u shi'achzo lehimin. Is he allowed to take it and put it in his right hand? Omar lohem. Rabbi Akiva answered to them that essentially it should be okay. However, al titnu mokim l'tzedukim lirdois. We know that Tzedukim, the Koifrim, those who disagreed with the Torah, they were looking for places where they could say, hey, you see, you're not following the Torah. And we don't want to give any excuse of the Tzedukim or the Minim to oppress us and say, we've caught you deviating a little bit. And therefore, you should not do that. So that's what we saw in the Brisa. Says the Gemara, Tama, the only reason that Rabbi Akiva told his Talmidim that you're not allowed to do that, is just because of the Tzedukim. If not for the issue with the Tzedukim, Madrin only, you would be allowed to switch the hands and switch the lots from one hand to the next. But according to you, Rav Yanai, Hagrola Ma'akev. You have drawing the lots is ma'akev. If drawing the lots are ma'akev, the kiven the cover says small. What does it mean that drawing the lots is ma'akev? It means that what actually determines which goat is lechatos, which one is lazazel, is drawing the lots. And the moment that the Kohen Gadol drew with his left hand the chatos lashem and with his right hand the lazazel, that determines that the right hand goat is lazazel, the left hand goat is chatos lashem. You can't switch it afterwards. The only way that we could entertain the idea that you're allowed to switch it is if the hagrola is not essential. And therefore, just virtue of drawing the lots in and of its own is not the final word, which animal is which. And therefore, if not for the issue with the tzedukim, you could switch your hands round. You could switch the lots round. So you see from here that the hagrola is not ma'akev. And this is again a question on Rabbi Yanai. According to Rabbi Yanai, there's no such opinion. Omar Rava says, Hochi ka'omar. What you actually have to read into that brisa is Olo hagoyrol bismoil, that if the lot that said Chatos Lashem came up in the left hand of the Kohen Gadol, of course Rabbi Yanai will say that it's ma'akev, and the goyrol is ma'akev, and therefore as soon as you drew the lots, it's been determined which animal is which. The question is, can I move the left-hand animal with the lot, with the one which is Chatos Hashem, can I move it to my right now, or not? But you're not changing the korban, saying this one is going to be Chatos and it's supposed to be Lazazel, or vice versa. No, the left one is going to be Chatos Lashem. Can I change its position? Omar Lohem, so there Rabbi Akiva says that intrinsically we have no issue with that. However, al titnu mokim l'tzedukim lirdois, don't give the tzedukim an excuse to be able to oppress us and to start asking questions. Just keep things as they are. And Tosfos discusses here, why didn't the Gemara say that this brisa was Reb Shimon, as we saw before? And Tosfos explains because Rabbi Akiva was actually the Rebbe of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nechemia. And we don't want to say that Rabbi Akiva is going to follow Reb Shimon, for example, to say that the lots are not ma'akev, and his two Talmidim, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nechemia, will say that it is ma'akev. The Gemara wasn't comfortable with that, and therefore we wanted to find an explanation how Rabbi Akiva could be in conforming with his other two Talmidim, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nechemia. Continues the Gemara, the next proof. Tashema, it says in the Brisa as follows: Ilu Nemar. What does it say in the pasuk? The pasuk says in pasuk Tes, V'hikriv Aaron es hasoyer asher olo olov hagoyrol Hashem, that he would offer up that goat that the goyrol, the lots of chatos Hashem was on that goat, vaso chatos, and it became a chatos. He made it into a chatos. So the Gemara says, the Brisa says, Ilu Nema, if he would have said, Es hasoyer asher olov hagoyrol Hashem, because what does it say in the pasuk? V'hikriv Aaron es hasoyer asher olo olov, that it went up on it. What's the olo? It should just say asher olov hagoyrol Hashem. If it would only say that, Hayisi Omer would have said, Yanichenu olov, that you have to place the goyrel onto the animals, onto the goats. Talmud Leima Olo, that's why the pasuk says Olo, Kivin She'olo, Shuvei Tzorich. The Brisa says that Asher Olo means that as soon as the lots were drawn, the Soyer Asher Olo Olo Vagoyrel, as soon as you drew the lot on the right hand for the right goat, the left hand to the left goat, even if you did not place the lots on the animals, it's sufficient. And we know that from the fact that the pasuk speaks about Olo, which is the drawing of the lots, not the placement of the lots. Says the Gemara, Lemai, this that we just saw now, that Kivan She'olo, Shuv Einoi Tzorich. So we explained what it means is that once you've drawn the lots, you don't need to place them on the animals. That's not ma'akev. The Gemara is going to discuss that. When it says Kivan She'olo, Shuv Einoi Tzorich, you don't need to. What don't you need to do? Ilema le mitzvah. Are you going to say that there's not even a mitzvah to put it onto the animals? Which means that the Michlal, the Hanocha, mitzvah nami loy. Are you going to say that there isn't even a mitzvah to place the lots onto the goats? That can't be. It's explicit in the pasuk that you should place the lots onto the animals. It's a mitzvah. It's not essential. It's not ma'akev. But you should be, at least you should do it as a mitzvah. Elolav la'akev. It must mean that what it says is that Kivan She'olo, once you've drawn the lots, Shuv Einoi Tzorich, regarding placing the lots, it's not essential. So if that's how we have to read it, that would mean that we're talking about ma'akev, that the Hanocha is not ma'akev, however the Hagrola drawing of the lots is ma'akev. Ushma mino, the Hagrola ma'akva. So we have to read the Brisa as saying that even though the Olo, the drawing of the lots, is ma'akev, the placing of the lots on the animal, that's not ma'akev. So you see here clearly that the drawing the lots is ma'akev. And this is proof to Rabbi Yanai. Omar Rava is going to explain this Brisa, and it will conform even with Rabbi Yochanan. That we're going back to our initial understanding of the Brisa. That had it not said, if it had just said as hasoyer asher olov and wouldn't have said hasoyer asher olo olov, I would have thought that you have to place the goyrel on the animal. It's ma'akev. Talmud Leima Olo. It says olo olov hagoyrel is coming to tell us that kivan she'olo shuv einoi tzorich, that once you've done the olo, the way we learned it before, once you've drawn the lot, einoi tzorich, and we thought it means that there's no mitzvah to even place the goyrel, the lot, onto the animal. And we said that can't be because the pasuk says there's a mitzvah. So the Gemara says, yeah, but we're discussing the length of that mitzvah. I may have thought that the mitzvah to put it onto the goat is to leave it on the goat from when you place it on until you're ready to shecht it, which is considerably later. However, when it says kivan she'olo shuvei netzarech, what it means is as soon as you've placed the lot onto the animal, you do not need to leave it on the animal. You can remove it. There isn't even a mitzvah to leave the lot on the top of the animal all the time till the shlita. Omar Ravi Hachakomar Ilu Nemar Asher Olov. Had it just said Asher Olov and not Asher Olov, I would have said that the mitzvah, it's not ma'akev, but the mitzvah of placing the goyrol Yanichenu Olov, you should leave it on it at Shas Shchita until you shecht it. Talmud Loimar Asher Olov. That's what the pasuk adds on the word olah, not talking about olah when you've drawn the lot. No, olah means when you've placed the goyrol onto the animal, kivan she'olah, once you put it on the animal, shuvei netzarich, there isn't even a mitzvah to leave it there. You can remove the lot from the animal and continue with avodah. Tashema, and now for the final proof. Tashema. V'osohu chatos, the pasuk says, v'hikriv arin es hasoira she'olo lo v'hagoyro l'Hashem v'osohu chatos. So what does it say there? Hagoyro osohu chatos. Because what does it say? That the she'olo olov hagoyro l'Hashem, that the one that the lots, either the right hand animal or the left hand animal, the one that drew the lot of chatos l'Hashem, v'osohu chatos, that became the chatos l'Hashem. What do we see, says the Brisa? The hagoyrol is the drawing of the lots, which is asohu chatos, makes it into a chatos. Ve'ein Hashem oise chatos. It's not verbalizing and saying, this is a chatos, because we know that all of hektish, in kol ha'torah kula, whenever how does an animal become hektish? By verbalizing, this animal is hektish, this animal is a chatos, an oila, every animal what it is. Here it says, no, saying that this is a chatos is not what makes it into a chatos. What makes it into a chatos? Drawing the lots. And why do I need this pasuk? When it says that Asher Ololov HaGoyrol LaHashem V'asohu Chatos, it's the goyrol that makes it into chatos. Shiachol, I may have thought the opposite. Halodinu, I've got kal v'chomer. Umar b'mokim shaloi kiddush hagoyrol. What happens in other cases? For example, a woman comes with a set of birds. One of them is going to be a chatos, one is going to be an oila. What are we going to do here? Who's going to determine which one is going to be a chatos, which one is going to be an oila? We don't say a goyrol works. We don't find anywhere that you can do a goyrol. You have to verbalize and say, this is a chatos, this is an oila. So in every other case, shaloi kiddush hagoyrol, that we don't find that goyrol works. Kiddush Hashem, nonetheless verbalizing which one is the chatos, which is an oila. That's what determines the status of each bird. Mokim shekiddush hagoyrol. Over here, where goyrol does work, can we not take for granted that verbalizing it should be sufficient? That's what would be a kal v'chomer. So I may have thought that either a goyrol determines what the status of the animal is, or the kriyas shem, or verbalizing it, one of the two. Talmud Loima, that's why it says in the pasuk, Vasohu chatos hagoyrol oise chatos ve'ein Hashem oise chatos. That's why we need the pasuk to tell us that saying which was the chatos, which is an oila, is not sufficient. It must be the goyrol. So what do we see here? We see here that the goyrol is ma'akev. If you say goyrol is not ma'akev, that means even if you didn't draw the lots, then it's not essential. It's still the animal will still be a chatos. How is it going to become a chatos? By verbalizing and saying this is the chatos. We just saw now here in the brisa that it's not that it won't work. The goyrol is ma'akev. So I've got an explicit brisa that the goyrol is ma'akev. And who is this? Stam sifra. This is a teres kehanim. It's a sifra. And who is the stam sifra? When you have an anonymous sifra, mani, who is it? The Gemara says in Sanhedrin Daf Peivav, Rabbi Yehuda. It's Rabbi Yehuda. And ukratoni agoyrol oise chatos ve'ein Hashem oise chatos. So I've got an explicit teres kehanim, an explicit Rabbi Yehuda that says that goyrol is ma'akev. And this does not conform with the first version that we saw on Daf Lamed Tes Amud Beis at the bottom, that says that according to Rabbi Yehuda, everybody says that it's not ma'akev, that the goyrol is not ma'akev. Here you see Rabbi Yehuda, the goyrol is ma'akev. And even in the second version, we said that it's actually machleikas Rabbi Yana and Rabbi Yechanan, whether Rabbi Yehuda says that goyrol is ma'akev or not. According to Rabbi Yechanan, it's not ma'akev. According to Rabbi Yana, it is ma'akev. And here you see explicitly a Rabbi Yehuda who says that the goyrel is ma'akev. Alma hagrola ma'akva. Tiyufta demand oma hagrola loy ma'akva. Tiyufta, this is a refutation on those that say that according to Rabbi Yehuda, that it's the goyrel is not ma'akev. We have a clear refutation from here. And in Yitzchok in the next year, we're going to continue from here.